This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Gary Smith.
Wow, Awesome Dawson. See, that's all you have to do is give a guy a moniker, Awesome Dawson, and he comes through in a pinch.
Now, that's funny for the audience. Mark is so excited because he usually doesn't hear that live. I put it in post, so Mark doesn't know that we've had that for a few weeks now.
Yeah, well, that shows you I don't listen to myself. My ego has some bounds.
Exactly.
Welcome Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with Gary, and we've got a short but pack-filled show. The breaking news as we speak is coming out of Minnesota. Judge Cahill in the Chauvin case, at the request of the defense, but back in February, has kicked over the trial for the remaining three officers, which was set in August, until 2022 to let the federal case go forward first. And by the way, somebody may have predicted that. We'll talk about that on the next episode. Number two, this is truly I think, from my standpoint, something good for the other three officers. This is a major defense win, which is one of the reasons that I think the prosecutors were against it or didn't know what to do with it. Now, and there's two grounds why this is a defense win. Number one, the federal indictment has got the juvenile incident where Chauvin was apparently knee on the back. I haven't watched it, but apparently knee on the back to a 17-year-old back in 2017 or maybe even younger.
2017.
That is something that never would have come up, brought up by Chauvin. But obviously the three, and if they were going on the same indictment, Judge Cahill may not have let it in. However, in the feds, it's part of the indictment, so it's fair game. And by the way, the two officers who were being trained by Chauvin are going to drive a truck through that because they're going to say, well, 4 years ago, you said this was fine. You didn't do anything with this guy Chauvin when he was doing the exact same thing. And now we're supposed to somehow know 4 years in retrospect that this is what this wasn't appropriate by the PD or whatever. And if every cop who gets up there, especially the chief has got a lot of explaining to do because the fact that he let this officer Chauvin stay on the force after 2017, now the feds are indicting on that very act. And he's getting up there saying, we don't countenance stuff like this. Methinks that the chief is going to, he either may not be a witness or he's going to have some backpedaling to do. That, and also one of the reasons that the judge invoked today also was the pervasive publicity, as if somehow being in federal court is going to be less publicity than in state court. I'm not buying into that. But there is the possibility that if those other officers are acquitted in federal court, they could then make the argument of double jeopardy. Doesn't work in reverse because the feds have already said, based on the Rodney King case and the statute, that it doesn't work in reverse. But clearly, in some states, it does work in reverse, meaning an acquittal or a conviction in federal court is double jeopardy purposes in the state court. In fact, you may remember we discussed a bunch of episodes ago about how the Paul Manafort case,
right?
Because he had been convicted, later pardoned federally. In New York State, they had to change the law because he made the argument that that was double jeopardy. I had that same case in California many years ago with what they called the Japanese OJ, where he was acquitted in Japan, and we used the statute to say they could not charge him with murder in California.
Right. Now, I don't... We're going to get more into that on Saturday with Adam, but there's a lot we're trying to get packed into this episode, so I have to change the subject a little bit.
So that's the breaking news at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, let's go to my favorite news of the day.
Well, let's save that for the end. That's dessert, okay, if you please. Okay. Because you brought up New York State, talking about Manafort, there is another story out today about how the different jurisdictions where President Trump spends time are theoretically preparing for an indictment to be handed down and how the extradition process would work. Now, I read a little bit about this from a couple different articles. It appears that some people are spinning it that he may have a little bit more protection if he were to stay at Mar-a-Lago because of the political party of the governor there. But he's currently planning to leave Mar-a-Lago and move to New Jersey for the summer. What do you know about that?
Let me tell you why this has become an issue, because we've been talking for the last couple of months about the Harvey Weinstein extradition. Now, in Harvey's case, there are state cases. He's got a state New York case he's serving time on and is appealing, and L.A., in California jurisdiction, has also indicted him there. It's a sealed indictment, and they're now trying to extradite him. So the governors in both of those cases, I don't think Gavin Newsom, you're ever going to find him doing anything to get in the way of that. And certainly Andrew Cuomo is not going to get in the way of an extradition of Harvey Weinstein. However, that leads us to your topic. If there is a Manhattan District Attorney, Cy Vance, indictment, and if it comes before Mr. Vance leaves office at the end of the year, doesn't really matter if it's before the end of the year or not, but depending on where Donald Trump is at the time, if he's in Florida, the governor, Ron DeSantis, could get in the way. There is a provision in the Florida Constitution that allows the governor or his office to do a little bit more than what I would commonly call a ministerial act. Normally what the governor does is he signs the proclamation that extradites to the sister jurisdiction. In this case, it would be from Florida to New York. There is a provision in Florida law that would allow him to do more than that and to make some assessments. He could conceivably refuse to comply with the extradition, and that would mean that Trump would remain in Florida pending a fight about that. But as you just mentioned, Trump either already has or is planning on spending the summer at his New Jersey club. And the New Jersey governor, who is a Democrat, I would submit is highly unlikely to not extradite to his neighboring jurisdiction. And he does have, there arguably are some provisions in the New Jersey law that would allow him to challenge or at least investigate and make more than a ministerial decision. But I think that's highly unlikely. So can you imagine, Gary, playing this out? Indictment in New York from the Manhattan DA's office, Ron DeSantis saying it's all political. I'm not going to go along with this. I've done an investigation. And then Trump basically spending the next couple of years in Mar-a-Lago as a guest of the state of Florida while he's a fugitive.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be like the WikiLeaks guy, just stuck in that building. But I'll take it one step further than the governor of New Jersey is highly...
literally house arrest.
Right. I'll go one step further. The governor of New Jersey is not only unlikely to get in the way, I would say he would rush the process through. He's up for re-election, and I think he would love that photo op.
Well, one of the things about New Jersey politically is you never know how anything plays there. I mean, remember, this is the state that produced Chris Christie as governor. Although he left with one of the lowest approval ratings of all time. He was also U.S. attorney in New Jersey. But I would agree with you. I think if you're a betting man, you would never bet on him doing anything to get in the way of the prosecution of, or the people of the state of New York versus Donald Trump.
It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out because, as you alluded to, the New York district attorney there is retiring at the end of the year, and all speculation points to him indicting first and then immediately handing it off to his successor. So it'll be when he hired an outside counsel, specifically somebody who had prosecuted organized crime, that to me was, to any observer in the criminal justice system, that's done for a reason. You're not doing that. You're not doing that to close it down. I don't think that's window dressing. Right. Some would call that an indicator. All right, on to our last story for the week.
Our last, but certainly not least story. Oh. By the way, one of my biggest fears, because as Gary will tell you and knows, I usually have one of my guys, one of these much smarter than I am, 20-something, set me up on the Zooms, or whether it's doing Beyond or doing RD or doing my court appearances. I mean, they do They do all of this for me. I'm going to set it up for this. Gary's got something very special.
There's a clip here that we have to play, and then I'm sure we'll have thoughts afterwards, but it was just too special not to share. So let's check it out.
Then we'll bring this fool in. Good morning, sir. What's your name?
Me?
Yeah, you. Yes.
Nathaniel Saxon, sir.
Your name's not Buttfucker3000, you yo-ho. Logging into my court with that as your screen name.
Why would
I'll discuss that in a little bit. What kind of idiot logs into court like that? What's your name again?
Nathaniel Saxton, sir, but I don't believe that I typed anything like that in.
Well, that's what it says.
Why?
We'll
I
discuss that in a
apologize.
bit.
That should not be.
Yeah, you should. I'll put you in the waiting room. You can sit in limbo for a while and think about what you call yourself online.
I love the fact the guy generally looks shocked. Buttfucker 3000 looks shocked, right? I don't. If he's not, he's a great actor.
I agree, and I don't think he is an actor. He seems horrified and confused, and the judge is just amazing, calling him a yoo-hoo. Just the way he just keeps going after him, and then puts him in the waiting room. You can sit in limbo. He puts him
in the Zoom jail. He sentenced him to Zoom jail.
It's amazing. I mean, there's just nothing about that I don't love.
You know, it's such a realistic reflection of what happens in court. Because I have stood up before and asked for priority. I'll say, Your Honor, Mark Garrigus here on number 4. I need priority. I've got to be on a criminal case if I'm in civil court.
Big boy's running.
If the judge is irritated with you, he'll tell you to sit down, and that has guaranteed you the end of the calendar.
I bet. No, I absolutely. I mean, look, that's how it is. That's how it is in life.
It's life. It's life, and that's in our Zoom era. And this is Gary. Until our weekend clip, all I got to say is from Buttfucker 5000 to Buttfucker 2000.
We'll see you on Saturday.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Stay tuned for more bonus episodes coming soon.